Amun, a magnificent city of gods, gold, and power swallowed whole by the sea, a place where Cleopatra herself once walked, where pharaohs prayed to mighty gods, and where merchants from across the ancient world traded treasures. This is not a legend, but the real story of Heracleion, Egypt's lost Atlantis, the city of the gods. Before Alexandria became Egypt's shining jewel, Heracleion stood as the country's most important port city. Strategically located at the mouth of the Nile, it controlled all trade between Egypt and the Mediterranean world. Ships arrived daily, carrying Greek olive oil, Phoenician wine, Arabian spices, and African gold. Towering temples lined the harbor, including the great temple of Amun, where pharaohs came to receive divine blessing before their coronations. Colossal statues of gods and rulers watched over the port, their massive stone bodies gleaming in the sun. To travelers, Heracleion was a city of wealth, splendor, and faith. To Egyptians, it was sacred ground, a place where gods walked alongside mortals. At its height, it was a symbol of power and prosperity, proof of Egypt's dominance over land and sea. But like all great cities, its glory would not last forever. The sea that gave it life would one day claim it back. Whispers of history. Heracleion's fame reached even Greece. The historian Herodotus wrote of the city in the 5th century BC, describing its sacred rituals and the grand temple of Heracles, from which the Greeks gave it its name. Other ancient writers mentioned it too, recalling its festivals, markets, and religious ceremonies, but over time, the references grew fewer and fainter. By the 8th century AD, Heracleion had vanished from all records. Maps no longer marked its place, and travelers never spoke of it again. For more than a millennium, scholars debated whether the city had ever truly existed. Was it a case of mistaken identity confused with another Egyptian port? Or was it a legend, a myth like Atlantis, invented to inspire awe? For centuries, the story of Heracleion was nothing more than a whisper in dusty manuscripts, an echo of a forgotten world, waiting for proof that it had once been real. A city on shaky ground, though majestic, Heracleion's foundations were fragile. Built on the Nile Delta, the city rested on layers of soft silt deposited by the great river. This land was fertile but unstable, shifting with the currents and trembling with earthquakes. The weight of massive temples, colossal statues, and stone harbors pressed down on this delicate soil. Over time, the earth beneath the city began to weaken. Scientists call this process liquefaction, when waterlogged soil loses its strength and behaves like quicksand. To the citizens of Heracleion, the danger was invisible. Their temples stood tall, their streets bustled with life, and their ships sailed proudly from the harbor. Yet beneath their feet, the ground was slowly betraying them. With each tremor of the earth, with each flood of the Nile, the city sank a little deeper. The glory of Heracleion stood on borrowed time, as the forces of nature gathered against it. The night of disaster. Then came the night, when nature's fury could no longer be held back. Ancient records and geological evidence suggest that sometime between the 2nd and 8th centuries AD, disaster struck. Earthquakes rattled the Nile Delta, splitting walls and shaking mighty statues. Waves from the Mediterranean crashed into the harbor, sweeping ships onto the shore and flooding markets. As the ground liquefied, colossal temples and houses slid into the mud. Imagine priests clutching sacred scrolls as their temple walls collapsed. Merchants abandoning their goods as water rushed through the streets. Families fleeing as their homes dissolved beneath them. Piece by piece, the city fell into the sea. By the time the waters calmed, Heracleion had vanished. What was once Egypt's greatest port became a silent grave beneath the waves. The people scattered, the memory faded, and Heracleion became a ghost, erased from history as if it had never existed at all. Rise of Alexandria. While Heracleion struggled against nature, a new city rose nearby, Alexandria. Founded by Alexander the Great in 331 BC, Alexandria quickly became the jewel of the Mediterranean. Its towering Pharos lighthouse was one of the 7 wonders of the world, guiding ships for miles. Its great library became the center of knowledge and culture. Merchants, scholars, and rulers from across the ancient world flocked to Alexandria, making it the new heart of Egypt. Compared to Alexandria's splendor, Heracleion faded into obscurity. Even before the city sank completely, its importance was already diminishing. When it finally disappeared beneath the sea, the world hardly noticed. Alexandria had stolen the spotlight, and Heracleion's name slipped into silence. The once great city was forgotten, remembered only in fragments of myth and legend. Its temples lay buried, its statues lost, and its stories swallowed by the tides of history and the sea that consumed it. Rediscovery. For centuries, local fishermen told strange tales of pulling stone heads and broken pillars from their nets. In the waters off the Egyptian coast, few believed them. Scholars dismissed these stories as exaggerations or mistakes. Then, in the year 2000, French archaeologist Frank Gaudiot began mapping the seabed near Alexandria in search of Napoleon's sunken fleet. Instead of cannons and ships, his sonar scans revealed massive stone blocks lying beneath layers of sand and mud. When divers descended, they discovered something extraordinary. Colossal statues, still intact, their faces staring from the seabed after more than 1,000 years. Stone tablets, engraved with hieroglyphs, confirmed the name. The myth was real. The lost city had been found. What began as a search for war relics became one of the greatest underwater archaeological discoveries in history. Heracleion, Egypt's Atlantis, was rising again not from the sea, but from memory. Atlantis, or reality. For ages, Atlantis was seen as myth, a city swallowed by the sea. But Heracleion proves such tales can be true. Temples, statues, and shipwrecks all lie preserved beneath the waves. Unlike Atlantis, Heracleion is no legend, it can be touched. And studied its fall shows how fragile even the mightiest cities are before nature, reminding us that legends are often born from real history. Lessons from the deep. Heracleion's story is more than archaeology, is a warning. The people of this city believed their walls were eternal, their gods unshakable, and their temples indestructible. Yet earthquakes, floods, and shifting earth brought them down in a single generation. Today, as modern cities rise along coastlines, built on fragile ground and threatened by rising seas, Heracleion's fate feels hauntingly familiar. No empire is too powerful to fall. No civilization is immune to nature. The broken statues and sunken ships lying on the seabed whisper a message. Across the centuries, what is built with pride can vanish overnight. For divers and archaeologists, Heracleion is a treasure. For the rest of us, it is a mirror. When we look at its ruins beneath the sea, we are not just seeing the past, we are seeing a warning of what could one day happen to us. The city that waits just 10 meters under the Mediterranean, Heracleion rests in silence. Divers have uncovered colossal statues, coins, and sacred relics, but only a fraction of the city has been revealed. Entire temples and neighborhoods still sleep under. Heracleion is more than ruins, it is a time capsule of Egypt's forgotten glory, waiting patiently to rise again, piece by piece, as archaeologists continue to bring its story back to life. For over 1,200 years, Heracleion was a myth. Now it stands as proof that history never disappears, only hides. The city beneath the waves reminds us of nature's power, the fragility of human achievement, and the thrill of rediscovery. Heracleion is Egypt's Atlantis, swallowed by the sea, reborn in our time. And its greatest secrets, they still wait, hidden in the deep.